So if you can have a guy that's in the audience that's yelling, I him, now me, I him, now me, and then that guy gets arrested for child charges, like what is going on here?
But there was something else going on here. Epstein was not some sort of whiz kid hedge fund manager. Epstein was playing a part. Epstein was a LARPer. Epstein was cast for a specific role, and he played it really well.
I don't believe this kid right now could possibly be the
I don't necessarily think they know what's going on yet. There's a lot of weird going on with this.
I know.
None of these things make any sense to me. Like, you're telling me that this kid who's not military trained, this guy, first of all, how did he get to the roof? How come nobody was looking? How come nobody was like, there's a direct line of sight between where he's sitting and those roofs? You guys didn't check? You don't have a drone? Like, that's insane. So he's on the roof. He jumps from the roof. He jumps down 14 feet.
Joe Rogan just said something that has Charlie Kirk's entire circle in shock. Out of nowhere, on his podcast, Rogan started connecting dots that no one was supposed to talk about, bringing up strange coincidences surrounding Charlie's sudden death, his wife Erica Kirk, and the people in power who seem a little too quiet about it. And the craziest part? Rogan wasn't guessing. He sounded like a man who knew more than he could safely say. Within hours, that short clip from his show started spreading across Twitter, X, Reddit, and suddenly the internet was on fire with theories about what Erica Kirk might be hiding from Charlie's family. Because according to Rogan, this entire situation doesn't add up. From the official reports, to the timing of events, to the people who showed up right after his death, nothing fits. So today, we're breaking down exactly what Rogan said, the evidence that's been surfacing ever since, and why some people think the truth about Charlie Kirk's death could shake the entire conservative world. And hey, if you're new here, please help me hit my goal of 500 subscribers. It really helps the channel grow, and it means I can keep bringing you stories like this every week. Because trust me, this one's only getting darker.
Is a coincidence. Hold on to that thought. Did you know that Charlie Kirk's father, Robert W. Kirk, was actually the architect for Trump Towers? Also, did you know that Erica Lane Kirk won Miss Arizona USA in 2012? Don't forget, Donald Trump ran Miss America from 1996 until 2015. Seeing the correlation here? Now, not saying age difference is a big thing, but did you know Erica was 5 years Charlie Sr.? But this is where coincidences aren't coincidences. People, this was so arranged. And there's so much more to Erica Kirk. Kind of like how she was all into basketball, didn't want to be all girly, never liked to dress up, even cut all her hair off, and ended up being Miss USA. How does that happen? How do you go from sports to Miss USA? And then they meet at a Turning Point event in 2018, where she's interviewing for a job for Turning Point.
It all began with a random moment on the Joe Rogan Experience. Except this one didn't feel random at all. During a casual conversation about media manipulation, Rogan suddenly shifted gears. He brought up Charlie Kirk and the weird inconsistencies surrounding his death. He didn't name names, he didn't accuse anyone directly, but his tone said everything. Rogan mentioned how the official story didn't make sense, how the timeline was off, how certain witnesses disappeared, and how key evidence was either sealed or quietly edited in reports after the fact. He even hinted that the suspect who was arrested didn't match early descriptions. In Rogan's words, it's like we're watching a bad movie. The plot holes are everywhere, but somehow everyone's pretending not to notice. That single line blew up online. Clips of the segment hit X within minutes, and fans started re-watching it frame by frame, catching subtle moments Rogan probably didn't need to show. A pause here, a smirk there, and a quick, you know who I'm talking about, glance at his guest. It was enough to make people think Rogan wasn't just speculating, he was warning. But the real storm didn't start until someone in the comments mentioned Erica Kirk's name and connected Rogan's story to her unusual rise inside Turning Point and her ties to people with far more power than anyone realized. And that's when things got messy.
Texted you when the Charlie Kirk thing happened because my antennas went up about, they showed the photo of that kid, or the guy that they have, the 22-year-old, whatever. And I was almost going to be like, dude, you think he's got the capability to do that?
Yeah, well, listen, there are people that look like that have the capability to do that.
Pretty
yes.
accurate.
Nope,
No?
not hard. Not hard at
Not
all.
hard.
Let me dispel that.
Okay.
Okay, 200 yards from a prone position with a dead-on rifle. So if you have a dead-on rifle, so you set this rifle, you set your 0 to 200 yards, right? You know how far you're going to It is not hard at all.
He a lot?
You don't have to a lot.
So
I could do it tomorrow.
If you're no, but you are experienced. If it's someone that's never could they do it?
100%. Not
Really?
if they've never they wouldn't know where to look. They'd have a hard time acquiring the like when you look through a scope, like when the reticle is weird. Like it's sometimes
Takes a minute.
You got to know the distance that you have to be from it to really line it up in your sights. But you could get a guy like my friend Andy Stumpf, who was a sniper in the SEALs. You could get him, and he could show you how to do it in an afternoon, and then you could hit steel at 200 yards every time you pull the trigger.
One day you could learn that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Not that hard.
Because it feels insane to me. I'm like, that
No.
seems tough.
It seems tough. We still haven't figured out whether or not the gun that Trump had a sight on it, because we weren't sure if it had a sight on it or if this guy was using iron sights. That was 140 yards. If you shot with iron sights, that's a lot harder, because iron sights is you're lining up. So you have these two things in the back and there's one thing at the front of the barrel, and you got to line those up perfectly, and that's how you stay accurate. That is a lot harder to do.
It's like old have those, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Pistols.
Yeah,
Like
pistols
you
got
buy a
them.
Glock,
Yeah.
that's what it comes with.
Right.
But this kid had a rifle with a scope. Now here's where it gets weird. The first images of this rifle with a scope, I swear to God, it looks like he has a composite stock on it. Like it looks like a modern 30-06 rifle. So a 30-06, so that's the rifle. 30-06 is like, that looks like a very modern looking stock. I mean, it might not be. It might be just a bad resolution. It might be wood. It's hard to tell. But if you showed me that and you said, hey, this is my cousin's rifle, is this any good? I'd be like, looks like a standard bolt action rifle with like a sophisticated modern scope on it. Sure. Now, apparently, the narrative is that this is his grandfather's rifle from World War I and doesn't have a serial code. Okay.
Interesting.
Okay. Why? Wait.
Then there was another man, an older one, who started yelling right after the claiming, "I did it," before reportedly taking off his pants.
First of all, there was that one guy who was the decoy. All right, so you got this guy who's an older guy who starts yelling out. Didn't he take his pants down? He took his pants down. This guy was at 9/11. He was at the Boston bombings.
All the hits.
He called in a fake bomb at another place, and then he did this at this thing. Right after, so somehow or another, this guy has the state of mind that the moment someone gets shot, he yells out and says, I did it, and takes his pants down or something like that. I don't know exactly what he did. Then, ready for this? He gets arrested for child right away.
Right after this happened?
Oh, right away. He's in jail for child. Why is that? Well, now you can't interview him.
Right, he's got, right.
Right, and because when the internet people start going, how are you at all these different things? Like, what are the odds? Like, if someone ran it through one of the ChatGPT perplexity things, like, what are the odds that
Odds
this
of this?
guy
Yeah.
would be at all those different events and be involved? Like, zero.
This is the guy.
Yeah.
I just like that the pants down part is just insane to me. It's like, why is your dick out,
I'm not
dude? I did it.
Listen, I'm not saying this guy isn't insane. He's clearly insane.
Yeah.
Or not. Or he's professionally insane.
Right.
For Rogan, these details didn't just seem odd. They looked like a very convenient series of events that allowed the perpetrators to cover their tracks.
That's the other thing. They said that he took it apart and then put it back together again. Shut the up. Do you know how much time it would take to do that if you were highly skilled?
To disassemble a gun.
To disassemble a rifle so that you can get it in a backpack. And by the way, not going to fit.
Not going to fit in a backpack.
And then somehow or another reconnects it once he gets off the roof? What? What's that about?
Is that what they pitched, huh?
Yeah. And then he's supposed to get it in that stupid backpack. It's literally, it makes no sense.
And the elevator music was a nice touch, by the way.
Yeah. So this is just a narrative, right?
Yeah.
We watch a guy jump off the roof, and then we supposedly find this rifle. So if you can have a guy that's in the audience that's yelling, "I him now me, I him now me," and then that guy gets arrested for child charges, like he's like, what is going on here?
So
and then
weird.
you find this rifle, and then you say, "Oh, he assembled it and he reassembled it." Like, okay. I wish I was a cop. I'd sit in a room like, this story is horse.
Once Rogan's comments started spreading, people began piecing together a web of connections that honestly sounds too bizarre to be random. It starts with Erica Franzwein, now known as Erica Kirk. Before marrying Charlie, she wasn't just another face in conservative media. She was Miss Arizona, a Trump-era pageant regular, and someone who'd been orbiting high-level political figures for years. And here's where things get weird. The same Trump organization that owned the Miss USA pageant, the same one Erica competed in, is tied to several people who later helped lodge Turning Point USA, where she eventually met Charlie. Coincidence? Maybe. But people online noticed how every step of Erica's career seemed to position her closer to the center of political influence. Beauty queen, Turning Point influencer, then suddenly the wife of Charlie Kirk, one of the most powerful voices in conservative youth politics. It's like she was built for this, or maybe placed for this. And after Rogan's comments resurfaced, even longtime fans of Charlie started wondering, was Erica just in the right place at the right time? Or was she part of something much bigger that no one saw coming? Because as soon as Rogan's clip began gaining traction, Elon Musk jumped in, and that's when everything exploded. Not even 24 hours after Rogan's clip started circulating, Elon Musk stepped into the chaos, and his response only made things worse. Someone tagged Musk under the viral post asking what he thought about Rogan's comments, and instead of ignoring it, Elon replied with just 5 chilling words: "The truth doesn't hide forever." That was it. No emojis, no context, just that one cryptic line. Within minutes, his reply blew up. People started connecting dots, claiming Musk and Rogan were quietly confirming something much bigger. Conspiracy channels ran wild, saying this was Musk's way of signaling that he knew what really happened to Charlie Kirk, or at least that he agreed the story didn't add up. Mainstream outlets tried to shut it down immediately, calling it irresponsible speculation. But it was too late. The more they tried to bury it, the more it spread. Hashtags like Rogan knows, Erica exposed, and even What Killed Charlie started trending across X and Reddit. People began re-examining Erica's old posts, her Turning Point speeches, and even the photos from her pageant days, trying to find anything that tied back to the mystery. And right when the conversation was about to cool off, Candace Owens jumped in. Except she didn't just react, she came armed with receipts. If there's one person who never stays silent when something big happens, it's Candace Owens. And when she saw Rogan's clip and Musk's cryptic comment, she didn't hesitate for a second. Candace posted a long thread claiming that Charlie Kirk had been under serious pressure from some of his biggest donors in the months before his death. She said there were disagreements over messaging, especially when it came to certain foreign policy topics and political alliances. According to her, Charlie was fed up with being told what to say. He wanted to take Turning Point in a more independent direction, and that didn't sit well with some very powerful people. Then she dropped something no one expected. Screenshots and texts allegedly showing Charlie's frustration with how certain sponsors were trying to control his image. Owens stopped short of naming those sponsors, but her followers did it for her. Within hours, people online were pointing fingers at everyone from billionaire donors to foreign interest groups, demanding answers. Owens even went as far as saying on her live stream, "If you think this was random, you haven't been paying attention. Charlie was tired of playing their game." The backlash was immediate. Turning Point insiders started calling her statements dangerous and disrespectful. But Candace didn't back down. Instead, she hinted that she had even more information, something she called the Hamptons meeting. And that's when everything took a turn from political to personal.
Candace Owens claimed that a few weeks before Charlie's death, there was a private gathering in the Hamptons, something she described as an intervention organized by people close to Turning Point's biggest donors. According to her, Charlie was invited under the impression it was a strategy retreat, but when he arrived, the tone was completely different. It wasn't about ideas, it was about control. Several insiders, she said, warned Charlie that he was getting too bold, that his recent statements about certain global issues were making the wrong people nervous. He was allegedly told to cool it, to stop questioning things, and to stay on message if he wanted the organization and his reputation to survive. Owens claimed that during this meeting, a few big names were present, including major donors, media executives, and even someone who had connections to foreign leadership. She wouldn't say who, but she did say this. One of them made a call during that meeting to someone overseas, and that's when Charlie knew it was bigger than politics. After that night, things reportedly changed. Charlie canceled several appearances, turned down a trip to Israel he'd been publicly promoting, and started spending more time off camera. His team claimed he was just exhausted, but people close to him say he seemed paranoid, like he knew something was coming. And just days later, it did.
When news broke that Charlie Kirk had died, the official reports came out fast, almost too fast. Within hours, law enforcement announced they had their suspect, released a basic story about how it all happened, and then went silent. But the more people looked into the details, the stranger it all got. For starters, the weapon description kept changing. Initial reports claimed it was one type, but days later, that detail was corrected with no explanation. Then there was the security footage from the area, or rather, the lack of it. Niebuhr said they saw cameras being removed by investigators just hours after the scene was cleared, but none of that footage has ever been released publicly. And then came the biggest red flag: text messages supposedly sent from the suspect's phone that didn't line up with the timeline. Screenshots surfaced showing timestamps that were impossible based on what police had already said. Even Steve Bannon, one of Charlie's closest allies, publicly questioned the entire thing, saying, "I've seen dad investigations before, but this one feels like it's protecting someone." Yet, despite all the holes, the case was quietly closed. No follow-up, no independent inquiry, no press conference. It was like everyone decided just to move on. But the public didn't. And as people began replaying interviews, rewatching tributes, and scanning social media, one thing started standing out more than anything else: Erica Kirk's reaction. Because what she did next left even Charlie's biggest supporters speechless.
In the days following Charlie's death, Erica Kirk's public appearances were strange. She didn't disappear from the spotlight like most grieving spouses do. Instead, she leaned into it. She was suddenly
everywhere. Interviews, church services, social media posts. Always composed, smiling softly, speaking with a calmness that didn't match the chaos around her. At first, people thought she was just being strong, but then came that clip. A video from a Turning Point event showed Erica standing beside Charlie's empty chair, touching the edge of the table and smiling, right before glancing toward the camera. It wasn't long, but it was unsettling. To Money, it didn't look like grief. It looked like performance. The internet pounced immediately. Users dug up her old pageant footage, comparing her gestures, posture, even facial expressions to her recent appearances. And the similarities were eerie. It was like she was falling back into a familiar routine, like she'd been trained to handle public emotion in a very specific way. Some began speculating that Erica was playing a role, one that was meant to keep the narrative controlled and emotions clean. Others took it further, suggesting she wasn't the mastermind, but a pawn, a carefully chosen figure who'd been placed close to Charlie to keep tabs on him or to steer him when necessary. Whether that's true or not, no one can say for sure. But her behavior after Charlie's death didn't quiet the speculation. It fueled it. And once Rogan, Musk, and Owens all started hinting that this story runs deeper than politics, people began to wonder, if Erica wasn't the villain, who was really pulling the strings? By this point, the story wasn't just about Charlie Kirk anymore. It had spiraled into something far larger. Too many strange coincidences, too many loose ends, and too many powerful people pretending not to notice. Joe Rogan's comments, Elon Musk's cryptic reply, Candace Owens dropping screenshots and references to donor pressure, it all pointed to one thing. This wasn't random. People online began building timelines that showed how every move, from Erica's pageant years to her marriage to Charlie's shift in rhetoric, seemed to fit into a bigger narrative, a pattern, something that looked designed. And then came the whispers about controlled confusion, a tactic where those in power flood the public with contradicting information, so no one knows what's real anymore. One outlet says accident, another says homicide. Then suddenly the story pivots to Erica's behavior, Rogan's motives, or Musk's tweets, until the truth is buried under speculation. But here's the part that caught everyone off guard. Even with all the theories, no one has come forward to deny it with conviction. Turning Point stayed quiet. Mainstream media moved on, and the few insiders who did speak up either deleted their posts or changed their stories days later. It's as if everyone got the same message: drop it. And that silence? That's what's keeping the speculation alive. Because if there's one thing Rogan said that night that stuck with everyone, it's this: if the truth were really simple, it wouldn't need this much protection. After the storm his comments created, Rogan didn't backtrack. He didn't clarify, apologize, or explain what he meant. Instead, he doubled down, and his next words sent chills through anyone following the story. On a later episode, he brought it up again, this time more carefully, almost like he was walking a tightrope. He said, "You start to see the same faces, the same patterns, and you realize some stories aren't meant to be solved. They're meant to be buried." The way he said it felt intentional, like a message to anyone paying attention. He talked about how information gets managed by the same institutions that claim to uncover it, and how public narratives are edited for safety. Then he paused, looked off camera, and said, "Charlie's story doesn't sit right with me at all." That moment spread across every platform imaginable. Fans clipped it, slowed it down, even analyzed his tone like it was a code. And maybe it was. Because the more you listen, the more it sounds like Rogan was hinting he knew more than he could safely say out loud. And just like that, what started as a passing comment turned into a warning, one that millions of people can't unhear. Rogan wasn't just questioning a case, he was questioning who decides what truth we're allowed to believe. And if he's right, then Charlie Kirk's death might not be the end of the story. It might be the start of something much bigger.
So, let's put this all together. It started with one offhand comment from Joe Rogan, but it's grown into a full-blown storm that no one in Charlie Kirk's circle seems willing to address. Rogan raised the first questions. Elon Musk fanned the flames with a single cryptic post. Then Candace Owens came in swinging, connecting dots that the mainstream refused to even acknowledge. And through it all, Erica Kirk has stayed in the public eye. Calm, polished, smiling, while the internet keeps asking the same haunting question. What is she hiding from Charlie's family? Because whether you believe in coincidences or not, there's no denying how perfectly every piece seems to fit. The pageant background, the political connections, the donors, the pressure, the sudden silence from everyone who once couldn't stop talking about Charlie. Even Joe Rogan himself said it best. Some stories aren't meant to be solved. They're meant to be buried. And if that's true, it makes you wonder just how deep this one really goes. Was this tragedy random? Or was it the result of something much darker behind the scenes? Something we were never supposed to notice? Whatever the answer is, one thing's certain. Too many people are staying quiet for this to just be coincidence. And hey, if you're new here, please help me hit my goal of 500 subscribers. It really supports the channel and lets me keep bringing you the stories the mainstream won't touch. Because as this story keeps unfolding, you're going to want to be here when the next piece drops.